What's going on, everybody? It's ManToManFootball here. Week 1, NFL football, college football too, really. But NFL football today. Dylan, what you want to talk about, man?
Man, I think I don't normally make this excuse, every other season. I think this is really an odd season where kind of the cliche let's not overreact after week 1 really fits. And we kind of talked about it, when we talked about some of the NFL division videos. These teams didn't get a preseason. They got limited training camps. We saw some really sloppy football, especially early in games. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I agree, man. I think people a little overreactive after week 1. No preseason. The Rona slowed everybody down. Let me just commend the NFL. They've done a really good job with testing everybody and keeping everybody
True.
informed and keeping everybody clean and more or less the optional bubble. It seems to be working. Hopefully it continues to work and we can get this football season completed. But let's jump right into the Chiefs, man. Clyde Edward, Hilaire,
CEH.
CEH, 25 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown.
Beast.
What'd you think, man?
I think he balled. I really want to talk about Patrick Mahomes though.
Okay, all right.
Patrick Mahomes, the maturation of a young quarterback. You talk about, a guy who is the most talented quarterback arguably on the planet. You had the comment this offseason about it. He didn't start reading defenses until last year. And then what you saw Thursday night versus the Texans was a quarterback that wasn't forcing anything down the field. He took
Nope.
his little dinks and dunks, his checkoffs. Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelsey. You can take away, you can double. Tyreek Hill on the outside if you want. We've got plenty of weapons over here. Patrick Mahomes played a very smart, very clean game. Methodically moved the football down the field. Defenses have to respect them vertically. But now they also have to respect the run game that CEH brings. And man, I don't know how you stop the Chiefs right now. They look
Yeah,
scary. Patrick Mahomes is just getting better.
I agree. I agree. And who else is getting better? Lamar Jackson with the Ravens
There you
because
go.
these are two teams that really didn't miss a beat. There's a couple more we'll talk about, but Lamar Jackson didn't miss a beat, man. He actually looked like a really good pocket quarterback. Obviously, he runs. That's people have to respect it. He's literally like another running back on the field. The dude is insane with the ball in his hands. But I'm sorry, Lamar Jackson looked really good. The Ravens didn't miss a beat. They continued to dominate on offense like they did last year as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Lamar Jackson is, he continues to progress, get better himself. We just kind of talked about Mahomes. I really, I'm somebody, I don't want to give Lamar too much credit for what he does throwing the football. The defenses have to focus so much on stopping the run and stopping the read option and dedicating guys to slowing down Lamar Jackson that he's basically playing one-on-one football on the outside. Like if if the Cleveland Browns played defense the same way against the Chiefs and they left Tyreek Hill in the slot one-on-one with safeties, Tyreek Hill would have 5 touchdowns by halftime, right? And
Right.
it's a totally different scheme when you play against the Ravens. And Lamar Jackson throwing the football down the field is a product of what he can do running the football.
Actually, don't like that. But the reason I say that, dude, he was 20 for 25,
Sure, sure,
275 yards and 3 touchdowns in the air.
yeah.
And I guess I can see how you said that's a product of him running, but I don't know if I agree with that. But one thing I did notice though is as of right now, Chiefs didn't miss a beat on offense. They look even better than they did last year. The Ravens look even better on offense as well. Lamar's throwing the ball a lot, looking downfield, constantly has his eyes up, which I've always said is a trait of an elite quarterback. Whether you're running for your life or not, you're always looking downfield. Um, who else did we see this weekend that would
And shout
looked
out,
really good?
one of the things that we talked about the Ravens getting better, adding Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell was a
Yeah,
monster, against the Browns. I think on the very first drive, it's his tipped pass that ended up getting intercepted. So you talk about creating momentum for your team, literally your first series, as a Raven. I mean, shout out to Calais Campbell.
yeah, I agree. The Ravens look good. The Chiefs look good. Uh, the Saints looked really good. Drew Brees is obviously, everybody talks about his noodle arm. I think Drew Brees looked really well. Uh, Alvin Kamara produced for the Saints, and we all know he was a stud anyway. But like, I was not expecting that kind of game from him.
Got paid and still produced
Got
for
yeah,
sure.
got the paycheck. You see, he had his little grill going.
Yeah.
He had it all going. He was balling out there. He had, it's interesting. He had 12 carries for 16 yards, which is a little crazy. But he went five receptions, 51 yards, and a touchdown. So um, he produced, man, two touchdowns. You can't beat
Yeah.
that as a
Three
running
three
back. Two
touchdowns
touchdown
overall. Yeah.
games. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of unreal. Seahawks. I honestly didn't see much of Russell Wilson. Well, what you got on that one?
Yeah, man. Seahawks came out. They made AJ Terrell look silly. He couldn't cover anybody. We kind of I talked about him when I was kind of excited, to see what he's going to do as a rookie. And he did not look good coming in week one. DK Metcalf. I mean, you talk about a young guy who's becoming more involved in that offense. As a vertical threat. As a guy who, he's a big body, fast guy. Put him on some slant routes. Things like that. Get him down the field. And he's doing a great job. Russell Wilson, obviously a baller. They tore up the Falcons, all day long. Matt Ryan ended up throwing for a lot of yards, but it's because in the second half they were trying to get back into the game.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones both balled out. Todd Gurley looked really good early, but then again, they couldn't run the ball all game. They couldn't continue
Russell
to keep running
Wilson
the
is.
ball.
Would you agree that Russell Wilson is this team? Like hands down, like
So
he is their offense.
I
322 yards, four touchdowns. I like stats. I like 322 yards, four touchdowns. He was also their leading rusher
there you go, there you go.
with three carries and 29 yards.
That's pretty bad.
The Seahawks did not run the ball.
Yeah,
Now they did throw a lot of swing passes. Like Chris Carson balled out.
yeah,
Like he. I wasn't too high. I've never been too high on Chris Carson. I like the guy, but I wasn't like too high. I'm like, the guy had six carries and six receptions. I'm sorry, two
yeah,
touchdowns through the air.
yeah.
That's actually insane.
To answer your question, though, I think in previous years you could have said yes to Russell Wilson being the team. They've got a lot of guys on that team now. DK Metcalf, Jamal Adams. They still got Bobby Wagner in the
The
middle.
defense is different.
They're getting better around Russell Wilson, and that's kind of why I think they'll end up winning that division. And then there were two other teams in that division that played on Sunday. The Cardinals and the 49ers went at it. My future MVP, Kyler Murray. A guy I love watching. I love the signing of D Hop. The 49ers, they came out and they had a 10-0 lead early, and the Cardinals stormed back, man, and ended up winning that game late. Jimmy Garoppolo did not look good throughout the game, and it was a fourth down pass at the end of that game that he left a little too far inside. The Cardinals defender was able to make a play on it, and that was the end of the game. Cardinals, you talk about a really, really talented 49ers team and an emerging Cardinals team. These are two really good football teams going at it, and the Cardinals came out victorious. How you feeling?
DeAndre Hopkins, man, came out balling. I mean, I knew we both talked about it a little bit. Like, I really thought he was going to really do well with Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Kyler Murray is also one of those quarterbacks that you have to respect his run game. Kyler Murray has to move because he's so small in the NFL, so he's got to create lanes with his eyes because he's just small. But man, got the ball in DeAndre Hopkins' hands, and that's all you really need to do. D Hop. We already know D Hop's like a top three at least receiver in the NFL.
Right.
So you get the ball in his hands. You've got Larry Fitzgerald, who has probably some of the most sure hands in the game as well.
Sure.
Like Christian Kirk kind of struggled. Didn't really get the ball too much, but I really liked the way that the Cardinals looked. 49ers, we talked about them being one of the most complete teams in the NFL. They did not look very good. Jimmy Garoppolo is definitely the weak point. He's got to do better than that. He's got to produce. So we'll see what happens. Question I have for you is, did you see the Washington football team with their comeback against the Eagles?
I saw them get down early. Again, you kind of talk about, if we would have had a preseason, would the Washington football team have gotten down 17-0? There's no way to tell. And when they turned it on, it was reversed the other way. It ended up being a 27-0 run the other way. And so I mean, there's no telling. That game could have ended up being much worse than what it was if we had a preseason. If that team didn't come in with any no preseason jitters or anything like that.
If they would have started the way they finished on defense over there, it would have been a completely different ball game.
Right.
Carson Wentz really struggled in that second half. He threw 2 picks. They weren't just like oh, they made a play. They were pretty bad. So
Yeah.
I think you got to give a little credit to the Eagles, which I don't mind doing as a Cowboy fan. But like Carson Wentz didn't look very good.
Hmm.
He started well. The Eagles started well, and after that they just kind of fell apart. And in the NFL, 17-0 is a massive lead.
It is.
10-0 is a massive
It
lead.
is.
That's you've got to bounce back, and you got to recover, and you've got to play almost perfect football to bounce back in the NFL. So
And the Eagles,
I was
they came in with offensive line questions, and we had talked about the defensive line for Washington being a strength of that team and what's going to carry that team going forward in the future. And man, you saw it late in that game. I think what was he ended up getting sacked 7 or 8 times in that game.
it was bad. Carson Wentz is not going to be able to stay. He's already had health problems,
Sure.
and that was one of my biggest questions for the Eagles is if Carson Wentz can stay healthy. I like Carson Wentz. I think he could be a phenomenal quarterback, but you can't do anything if you're getting thrown to the floor every play.
Right.
So that's a big concern for the Eagles. We'll see. But I was very impressed with that Washington defense. Not necessarily anything on offense, but Washington football team, man, keep it up on
Can get
defense. Y'all will
after it on
be
defense.
scary. Yeah.
And then man, let's
Um,
uh let's talk about were we kind of sleeping on how important preseason was for kickers. I mean, it's kind of weird to
oh
say
God.
like we talk about quarterbacks, wide receivers, timing, all those type of things, right? But it's like they couldn't. Nobody could hit a field goal. There's only
No,
one game this weekend. It was the Packers versus the Vikings, where there was not a missed field goal or PAT throughout the whole game, and there was some
yeah.
pathetic kicker performances this weekend. So go ahead, talk about it.
Oh man. Well, let's first talk about how Joe Burrow got his team into a winning position, or I'm sorry, not a winning position, a tied position. They could have tied the game, and their kicker just flat out missed. And I think it was like a 30-yarder or like a
Oh,
40-yarder. It was not bad. Like it
right,
wasn't, they weren't kicking a 60-yarder to try to stay in the game. They lost because they couldn't kick a field goal. The game was 16-13. Joe Burrow went 23 for 36, 193 yards. Not anything too impressive. He had an interception. He didn't throw any touchdowns. But like he still gave that team a little life and put them in the position to win. And
sure,
he showed he can make those game winning drives or game tying drives when
sure,
they need to.
yeah,
But if you don't have a kicker, you can't win in
yeah,
situations like that. And we
yeah.
saw a lot of that. Tennessee Titans Monday Night Football. Jesus Christ, Gostkowski. How does he even still have a job? The boy missed
Hey,
like three. And
he
I
made up
actually,
for
I
it.
actually,
He made up for it
he
though.
did. He did, but the percentage of missing like a 40-yard field goal in the NFL is like 80%. Like it's an 80% chance as an NFL kicker you're gonna make those. They said it's almost 1% chance that you miss 3 field goals at that distance in
Hmm.
the NFL.
Hmm.
So that the guy's coming from I believe he's bouncing back from a hamstring injury or a calf injury. I'm not really sure what exactly it was, but I do know that he's just bouncing back from that. I don't want to make excuses for the guy, but man, that was a brutal showing by him. I'm honestly surprised he still has a job.
Yeah, and the stat there too. He went from the fifth most accurate kicker of all time down to the eighth most accurate kicker just off that game alone.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, the dude was just shanking. It was bad,
It was
and
bad.
I don't know. I mean, some of the holds looked kind of weird and wonky, but I mean, I don't know. You can't miss like that in the NFL. So they either have something to figure out on special teams, or Groskowski needs to find a new job. So we'll see. Or they need a new placeholder. I'm not too sure on that one, but there were a lot of missed field goals, a lot of sloppy football, a lot of sloppy tackling this week. I'm interested to see what teams can improve on in week 2 in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and no excuses anymore. Everybody's got a taste.
No.
Everybody's got an opportunity to
Hmm.
go out there and hit somebody else. So from the rest of the season on, I mean, there's no excuses for anybody, including those
Yeah,
kickers.
yeah, including kickers. Defense has got to stiffen up. I think sloppy offense has got to improve. There's a lot to look forward to, man. We just getting started. It's gonna be a great NFL season. Can't wait, man. Um,
And then speaking of next week, man, let's kind of take a look, just a little preview. A game I'm excited about. We got Arizona and Washington going at it. Both these teams are 1-0. There's going to be a team coming out of this that's red hot to start the season. No excuses, no for anybody. But one of these teams is going to rise to the occasion, and be
oh yeah,
2-0 and be ahead in their division, by a long shot here. You look at what Kyler Murray did to the 49ers. And we know the 49ers have a great defensive line. We get to see Washington defensive line, go against Kyler Murray now. So I'm really excited to see that matchup. Two young quarterbacks going at it. Two teams that should be kind of on the uprise. I think it's going to be a fun game. And then, like I said, man, one of these teams is going to be 2-0 at the end of the weekend.
yeah. They've got a lot to work. They got a lot to do because Kyler Murray is a different animal. Carson Wentz is a big boy. He can run. He can definitely move, but he's not anything near Kyler Murray. So I'll be interested to see what they can do against Washington. Um, I don't know. I'm actually that's actually a really great matchup to watch. Kyler Murray versus that defense. If that
Absolutely.
defense can continue to just feed off of how they did last week in the second half,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a tough
It's
game,
going to
and
be a good one.
you know that'll be great. That they need games like that. Kyler Murray's young; he needs games like that to produce in the playoffs. One game that I'm interested in is the Bengals versus the Browns. I think it's a must win for Baker
There
Mayfield.
you go.
You have to win against the Browns, or you have to win against the Bengals.
Yeah.
You know, got a little Joe Burrow over there. I, man, what do you think? Like, I
Man,
think the Browns have to win.
you
Have
gotta
to.
you
Like,
gotta outduel the rookie. You have to. You look at what Baker has around him. I know we've said the word no excuses a lot in the last couple minutes here, but there's no excuses for the Browns to not be an elite football team. Okay, elite. I'm not talking about just kind of good. Winning 8 games. I'm talking about being elite. They have that kind of talent, and so the Bengals, they don't have much on their offensive line. They don't have much on defense. This should be not a very close game.
yeah. And Odell should, get a little touchy touches,
That'd be
some going.
nice.
So
That'd be
we'll
nice.
see. Odell should get some catches. They for some reason was way off with Baker Mayfield last week. They
Yeah,
did not look good together. Odell had a ball hit his hands
and
and he
dropped it.
dropped it.
Yep.
So that's very, very different for him. We'll see. I'm very excited about those two games. One more I'd like to throw in Ravens Texans. I
There you
think
go.
the Texans have to show up. Um, if not, they're going to get blasted like they did last week.
Yeah.
The Ravens or Texans, unfortunately, the first two games are a gauntlet. Ravens,
And
Chiefs.
next week they play the
That's
Steelers, and so
brutal.
there's no easy road here for the Texans.
And Big Ben showed he's back. I
Oh yeah,
mean, I
Steelers are
didn't think he
back.
would come. I didn't think he would bounce back like that. They didn't do super well,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's back.
They're back.
The Steelers are something to worry about. So Texans got to show up, and starting the season 0-2, that is not the way you want to start at all.
Absolutely.
So it's gonna be interesting. So it's gonna be an interesting week. We got week 2 NFL football. A lot of interesting matchups. It's gonna be great. Yeah, guys, like, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know what you think. Man to man football. We're gonna keep videos coming out. Dylan, you got anything?
Yeah. Any comments, any critiques, man? We love it all. So appreciate y'all checking out the channel. And hey, football season's
Peace.
here.